Welcome to episode 2 of BoxTheBase, your home for boxing and baseball. And today I'm here with
Jack Alter. I am best known for I do many things in the influencer space, but I feel like I'm best known for my on Twitter, Jack Alter Zero. I do a lot of boxing commentary. I interview certain fighters, and I'm known for stirring stuff up in the boxing community. So yeah, it's Jack, and what's up?
Yeah, what's up? Glad to have you here. I'm excited to
Thanks
be
for
here
having me.
recording. Yeah. So I want to start off just talking about the month of February because it's probably one of the biggest months we've had in recent years for boxing. And let's take it back to the very first day, February 1st, which we had the big event of David versus David, Benavidez versus Morel. I want to get your thoughts first on what you thought of the fight.
Um, Dude, I'm a big David Benavidez fan, and I was excited for that fight. I met Benavidez back in 2022. Amazing, super down to earth guy. He'll talk to anyone like he's known you for like 10 years. But I know we're going to talk about the fight, but Benavidez, great guy. I'm a big fan of him, so I always love to see Benavidez fight. I saw him fight on the undercard of the Gervonta fight in Vegas in person last June against Bosdick, and this was his second fight at light heavyweight. And I thought he looked good, man. I thought he looked very good. It went the distance. That knockdown was actually a push. If you look at the replay, they didn't show the replay, but his arm was up when he got knocked down.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the
His
videos
foot,
after. Yeah,
his foot also got tripped, so it wasn't a real knockdown. But no, I thought he looked good. He just kept the pace. Morel's a great fighter, undefeated. Trains with Ronnie Shields, who also trains Charlo. And dude, I thought it was a great win for Benavidez, and I think he's the number 3 guy at. I think Morel's the number 4 guy at 175, and I'm excited to see if he would go up against the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev.
yeah. So we're gonna talk at length about Benavidez just because he's the bigger name and he's the one who won the fight. But let's take a moment to talk about Morel because first of all, I think somebody who came in 11-0, and maybe a lot of people didn't know him and they were only finding out about him because he was fighting David Benavidez. I think he really put himself on the map and proved himself as a fighter. Somebody who can maybe fight other guys, like if he doesn't stay at 175, which people have said he's already a big fighter, so he probably will. But I think he can fight just about anybody. Not saying he would win all the time. I feel like he's probably gonna suffer a few more losses in his career. I don't think he's gonna, be this amazing undefeated fighter the rest of the way, but I think he definitely gave people, a really good showing of who he is. I would like to see him potentially fight somebody like Caleb Plant or Demetrius Andre. What do you think about future
I think
matches for him?
I think Demetrius Andrade needs to stay back down at 160. I think he'd absolutely get destroyed by Morel. But Plant versus Morel, that'd be a great fight. I think Morel, I don't know how old he is. He's from Cuba, so maybe his age is a bit like adjust. I think he's still pretty young. Like we said, only has 11 fights. I thought he hurt Benavidez in round 4 with just a slight jab. He had a real small. He's in the southpaw stance and he threw a jab on the ropes in round 4 that made Benavidez buckle a little bit. I think Morel has a lot of power. He's very fast, and I think Morel beats anybody at 175 and 168. I think he beats Canelo, not named Beterbiev, Benavidez, or Bivol, the 3 Bs. Those are the guys that ruled the division. I'm really excited to see, and like you said, we'll talk about Bivol Beterbiev 2, which is later this month. And
Yeah.
Morel, though, I think Morel beats anybody besides those 3 guys.
Yeah, I think it was just really interesting because I'll be honest, I didn't really know him a lot either. Like myself, I didn't know a lot about Morel. I had learned about him because he fought on the Crawford undercard, and that was one of my first times seeing him. And then I found out he was fighting Benavidez, and I did more research and watched more about him. But I just think, yeah, he really put a showing out there and proved himself. I think if anything, he probably gained more fans than Benavidez that night, just because more people found out about him and more people know who he is now. But switching over to Benavidez, who won the fight, um, to me, the only next logical step for him, if Canelo won't fight him, is to fight the winner of Bivol versus Benavidez. Personally, the way I view it, I think he has an easier time. Not saying it's going to be easy with either guy, but I think it's easier of a fight for him to fight Beterbiev as opposed to somebody
Interesting.
like Bivol.
Interesting. Okay.
Because to me, I think Bivol is just too technically gifted.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's a great point. I know that Bivol and I know sparring isn't everything. I know Bivol and Benavidez have sparred before. So, and I heard that Bivol gave him a boxing lesson, but I'm not 100% sure. I really thought for a minute there, due to styles, Benavidez could beat Bivol. I think Beterbiev would, his one punt, the power and the way Beterbiev fights, I feel like Beterbiev would beat Benavidez, but I think Bivol versus Benavidez is interesting, but I'd still favor Bivol. Bivol is my favorite fighter, so I do have some bias, and I think Bivol is going to beat Beterbiev, which I thought he did the first time, but I think he's going to do it more convincingly this time on the 22nd. But Benavidez, the way he's looked at his two fights, and even though it's been against great competition, I feel like at 168, he was better because it seems now he's a bit slower. He doesn't throw as much. Because when we saw him at 168, he was going especially I remember round one when he heard David Lemieux, he was like, and when I looked at him, I know I just did the whole little thing right there.
Yeah.
But when I noticed him against Vosdick and Morel, he doesn't do that much. He just really seems more built like a tank. He seems to do what he did at 168, just a little less, and he seems a bit more he doesn't throw as much.
I would consider it to be him being a little more cautious. Maybe he realizes that he's going up in weight, and naturally these guys are bigger, and the bigger guys naturally just have more power.
Yeah, that could definitely be it. But I think it's also the weight because he looks a lot bigger. Even though it's 8 pounds, he looks a lot bigger to me when he's fighting on 175.
So yeah, I mean, and we'll definitely get into the talking about the rematch, even though we just mentioned it a little bit of Bivol versus Beterbiev. But I want to move on to talking about now Canelo, who we mentioned just a little bit ago. But he's been in the news for all kinds of different reasons. Obviously boxing, but first it was the day of him fighting Crawford, and then that kind of fell apart apparently, and then there was talk about him fighting Jake Paul, which I think was a little crazy, and then apparently now he signed a 4-fight deal with Saudi with Riyadh Season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what those 4 fights entail. I think Crawford's gonna be in one of those for sure. There was a talk for a potential Bivol rematch. What are like? How do you feel about that whole deal?
If anyone knows me, because I've been on this boxing scene since I was 15, so and this was right when I really got in the scene right when Triple G and Canelo happened. So people know I'm very critical of Canelo, but because I thought he lost both Triple G fights, and that's a whole other thing right now. So I'm critical of Canelo, but when I thought he was going to fight Jake Paul, I got really pissed off because I was like, bro, he's not a real fighter. But that's for people like me to take care of Jake Paul. That's what I'm saying, bro. Next year, I'm going to knock Jake Paul out, Canelo. Don't do that. That's for me, bro. But I was disappointed when I heard he might fight Canelo or Jake Paul, I mean. And then all of a sudden you got the 4-fight Riyadh season, and I definitely don't think he's ever going to fight Benavidez. I'll state that right now, and I've always felt that way. I think due to style-wise, I think he gets stopped by Benavidez. Not just beat. I think he gets stopped. And Canelo's notorious for having a great chin. I think the pressure is just going to be too much. And the style-wise, there's a reason why Canelo isn't taking that fight. I think the 4 fights on the card are going to be, he's going to fight William Skull for the IBF and become undisputed again at 168. The first Mexican Independence Day weekend, so in 3 months. I think the second fight, which I'm pretty confident this one, I think it's going to be Terrence Crawford, which I'm going to go to in Vegas on Mexican Independence Day weekend. So the first 2 this year, Mexican Independence Day, Skull. Then I got Crawford, and I don't know where they're going to be. I know the Crawford one should be in Vegas. The next year, maybe he fights a Charlo or the big Charlo, or then some bum, honestly, for the last fight in Riyadh season. I'm not sure. But I think he'll probably fight that would be my 4 fights that I think he's going to fight. And I'm pretty confident in the first 2. Skull and Crawford, I think, are going to be this year. I think he might fight the big Charlo and then like a bum, and then I think he might call it a career. But Canelo, I think he's ducking Benavidez for a reason. What do you think?
I mean, I kind of see where the whole ducking thing is. I want to excuse the plane flying behind me, by the
No,
way.
you're good. You're good.
But I kind of see where it comes from, where he's ducking. But I view it from two different angles. One, I view it where he's simply ducking. Like if you're gonna fight, no matter your age and no matter where you're physically at, if you're still going to continue being a professional boxer, fight the best out there. If not, just might as well call it a career and retire. Nobody's going to blame you for, I mean, some fans are going to talk, but I think nobody's going to really blame you for retiring and not fighting him. Like, if you say you're physically unable, you're tired of boxing, I don't blame you. It's a very demanding sport. But I also view it in the same way where I'm like, I feel that he's kind of earned, in a way, his right to not fight somebody like to pick and choose, you know? Because
Yeah,
no matter who he fights, he's gonna make all the money in the world. So it's not like he needs to fight the top guys to make the top money. He can fight. He can pick somebody off the streets off of Mexico and put him in the ring, and he's still gonna make well over 100 million. I think
yeah.
when you count like pay per views, when you
Well, not
count
that. I don't think he's gonna make 100 million, but he'll make a lot of money.
he'll make his money, you know. And
He'll make that
maybe
money.
100 million is an exaggeration, but you know, I think he'll definitely make his money no matter who he puts in the ring with him. So in a way, it's like there's no reason for him to really, like from his point of view, there's no reason for him to give Benavidez that fight if he feels that Benavidez could potentially hurt him. That's how I see it. You know, I don't think he needs to go in there and give Benavidez that fight. I mean, not that he doesn't need to. I want to see it. I'm a boxing fan. I have favorite fighters. I don't care who they fight. I want to see them get in the ring. If they lose, they lose. I've always said this as an example. Shakur Stevenson is my favorite fighter. I want to fight Gervonta Davis. I think Shakur Stevenson would beat Gervonta Davis. If he gets knocked out, I'm not gonna cry about it. I'm gonna move on and just be excited that we got the fight.
Yeah.
That's all I care about at the end of the day. Give us the good fights. So with Canelo, I don't care if he gets in there and loses against Benavidez because I just want to see the fight happen. So
That's valid. That's definitely a valid point. I was really hoping for the fight to happen. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. Like I said to Benavidez when I met him at Triple G Canelo 3, or my dad said to him, we're like, we want to see you beat Canelo. He's like, I hope it happens. And I think I said to him, I'm like, I don't think Canelo's gonna fight you. I just, by the way, it could have happened like 2 years ago. I just, and you can, people say Canelo can pick and choose. Canelo always has really picked and choose. Canelo's never really fought a guy in his prime. Canelo has never beaten a guy clearly who is in their prime at their weight class. And I can go into that argument all day, but Canelo's just not going to fight Benavidez. That's all I'm going to say. But I don't want to make.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you're an optimistic person like I consider myself to be, and you want to hold your hopes that he one day fights him, like every day I wake up and I just hope, you know, maybe today's the day we hear
Canelo fight Benavidez.
But you know, if that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That's not in the cards. Then I think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Crawford is really the last big fight he has left. I don't know who else he could fight other than a Bivol or a Beterbiev matchup. I don't know who else he could fight to really give the fans a big fight. I think he's probably. I think he's going to take, in a way, the Mayweather approach of what Mayweather did at the end of his career. Kind of just fight the easy guys and ride off into the sunset with Riyadh season.
Yeah. If I were Canelo, and if he were really an amazing, like for me, if I were Canelo, but I know I'm not, I think Crawford and Benavidez were the two fights, and then I'd go. Crawford, Benavidez, those are two biggest fights, and then I'd head out. But I think he loses to both guys. I think he's going to lose to Crawford in September, and I'm going to see it. I think he took if you look at a guy like Bivol, he thought he could beat Bivol, took a calculated risk, but he miscalculated. I think Andre Ward said something to that effect about like Bivol, he miscalculated. I think he'll do the same thing with Crawford. You think Crawford's going to be a little guy, and Crawford's going to go up and he's going to outbox you. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting.
And last thing before, because I do want to talk about Crawford for a second, because he's a flip side of that mega fight in September that hasn't been yet fully confirmed, but I think will happen. I think also with Canelo is that if he would have just taking the fight with Benavidez outright, fights him, and then say he loses, even if it's by knockout or whatever, by stoppage, I think that people give him a little like benefit of the doubt type of thing. Like he fought one of the best currently. He goes in there and loses, but at least he went in there and fought him.
Yeah.
I think now if he were to fight him now with having ducked him previously, I think it looks worse on him if he loses because then it gets more backlash talking against him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally valid.
So yeah, and then on the flip side, I did want to talk about Crawford because he's been also trending a lot in the news lately, especially for his weight. I think it was like 186 that he was at or something.
186, yeah.
And so interestingly enough, the other day I joined this Twitter space, and there was a strength and conditioning coach in it. He's trained with like a bunch of different boxers and stuff, and he was saying how you don't really build muscle that quickly in such a short amount of time. He was explaining more how like it's more the muscle he already has that Crawford already has being filled out, and that's where the weight comes from. I mean, I think the weight is gonna affect him in the ring in terms of movement, but I mean, what do you like? How do we think about his current weight?
If you look at me, I'm a guy, and I know Crawford's totally different because this is a guy who fought at 135. Look at me, like I'm somebody who, like right now, I'm like 200 pounds, and if I really just stop eating and okay, wait, let me not make this about me. Let me talk about Crawford for a second because Crawford, he's known as a guy who some people call him small, but I think at 147, perfect size. I think he's going up in weight at the level he's going at is perfect. And I think 186 is probably the weight a guy that's just fighting at 168 should be walking around at. So I think Crawford, they just have to fight to see if the weight will make a difference. And that's the only thing people talk about because if you ask anyone, weight aside, if they were the same weight naturally, who would win, Crawford and Canelo? 99% of people are going to tell you Crawford would win if they were the same size due to skill, due to all those stuff. And the only thing are people saying now is if he goes up 14 pounds to fight Canelo, he's going to lose. He's going to be too small. That's what people are talking about. We're just going to have to see them fight. And I do think weight may play a factor. It might not. We're just going to have to see. But I'm excited for it. And I think it's a great matchup. I thought against Madrimov, he looked decent. Madrimov, some people thought he lost that fight. I thought it was close. He came back late to get it, but Madrimov's a dog, and that was his first time fighting at 154 against an undefeated guy who sparred. Madrimov was Bivol's main sparring partner for Canelo. So, and that I think that's a great win for Crawford because I think Crawford is gonna. I think Madrimov is going to beat Virgil upcoming on the February 22nd card, but we're just gonna have to see them fight to see if the weight makes a difference or not.
Yeah, I mean, because the way I view this Canelo Crawford matchup, even though I wasn't alive to see it in person, but just studying boxing history, is kind of reminds me a little bit of Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard.
Oh, true, Leonard, yeah.
Where it's like, I understand there's a bigger weight difference between Canelo and Crawford compared to Hagler and Leonard, but I think it's kind of like the smaller guy going into the ring against the bigger guy. One guy is more the puncher, the other guy is more the the fighter, like the boxer. And even though Canelo is a really good boxer, I think that's an aspect of his game that some people don't rate as highly as I do. But I think it's kind of like an interesting matchup that kind of feels the same as that because you have someone like Crawford, who I don't think he's going to come in that heavy. I think he comes in a lot lighter than people expect, just to use that to his advantage to move around the ring. And obviously, I mean, it would be Canelo's best favorite to come in heavier and try to put that weight on him and just walk him down. So that's kind of how I view the matchup in general with them two for sure. I mean, it's just gonna be like little guy versus big guy, no matter how you put it, and which style prevails is only gonna be found out when they fight.
Yeah, that's why they fight, so we can get all the questions answered.
So the next thing I want to talk about, because I'm gonna leave tomorrow we have Keyshawn Davis fighting, but I'm going to leave that for the end of the episode here, because there is a lot of drama with that fight going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I wanna skip over that for a moment and talk about February 22nd, last Crescendo, which, at least in my lifetime, is the greatest boxing card I've ever seen. I don't
Facts.
think I've ever seen, from top to bottom, I don't think I've ever seen a better card. And to me, the two fights that I'm most excited for are Shakur Stevenson versus Floyd Schofield. Just because Shakur is my favorite fighter, I was really bummed out when he broke his hand and couldn't fight last year at the end. On the first Bivol card, I'm pretty sure would have been on. And then, and the one obviously is the main event, which is the rematch of Bivol versus Beterbiev. And I think it's interesting having you on here because I think we agree a lot on Bivol. Because I think he won the first fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think he's going to win the rematch. Because the way I view it is both Bivol and Beterbiev are training really hard. But I feel like if you look at Bivol training, I feel like he's training as if they
Smarter.
stole everything from him. As
Yeah.
if he was, like, his whole house was robbed, basically.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
fighting for it back.
Redemption. Fighting for redemption.
Yeah. So, I mean, what, just your thoughts on the card? Like, what do you feel about it top to bottom?
Well, I need to make a video, like probably like soon on my channel. It's just my name, Jack Alter. I already did a video saying how it's the best card ever, but I need to do a video on my predictions. But for the main event, I think Bivol, I want to see him get the stoppage. I know that's tough, but I think it's possible. Right before Bivol Beterbiev, and like I said, Dimitri Bivol is my favorite fighter. Like I'll post highlights, like TikTok edits of him on my freaking Instagram, just because I'm such a big Bivol fan. So even though, here's the thing, people say if someone's your favorite fighter, you may look at them like you may have bias, like you'll think they'll beat everybody. I kind of have the opposite sometimes, where I'm like, ooh, I hope this guy doesn't beat him. I was just back when Gennady Golovkin was my favorite fighter. I got nervous a lot before his fights too. But this, I still think, like, I say as much as I can say, I want Bivol. I think Bivol's going to win. It's still close, I think. It's still really close. I'll probably say like 60-40 Bivol. I think he will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Beterbiev pulls it off. I just love the fight top to bottom. I thought the first fight was great. I think this one will be even better. And I think Bivol's he has that dog in him to come back and get that. He thought he got it stolen from him the first time. He's going to come back and get him. But outside of that, the card is just amazing. My favorite fight outside of Bivol Beterbiev is probably Madrimov Ortiz. If people know me on Twitter, I used to be friends with Virgil Ortiz for a decent amount of time, and then all of a sudden he just stopped talking to everybody, not just me. And then I like called him out on it, and then I was like, "Why you got to be like rude about it, man?" And then like he like called me out, like talking trash about me, and people, we're friends now. Me and Virgil, I still talk to him occasionally. But I'm known for having like a little bit of beef with Virgil, but I think Virgil is still a fantastic fighter. I think that Madrimov is a fantastic fighter too, as I said, and I think Madrimov's going to get him, and I think Madrimov might even stop him. But I think it's such an exciting fight. I think that's the second best fight on the card. I also really like Shakur versus Schofield. I think Shakur will outbox him very badly. I think he could even stop him. Honestly, I think Shakur is very good, as I've heard you say earlier that Shakur is my favorite fighter. Yeah, so I think Shakur is going to get him. Another fight that I really am looking forward to is Gilles Zhang versus Ajit Kabayel. I think Ajit Kabayel is a dog. He is a master. I think one punch from he fought the Makhmudov guy who hits hard. I think Zhang's a bit smarter of a boxer and he hits much harder. So I think Kabayel has to be very careful. I think that's a 50-50 fight. Joseph Parker versus Daniel Dubois. I think that is an amazing 50-50 fight as well. I think I might lean towards Dubois, but I'm not 100% sure. What other fight is on that card? We have Callum Smith versus Boatsi. I'm not a big – that's the one where I'm not like super hyped about. But I think there's one more I'm forgetting. What's the other one I'm forgetting about?
I'm trying to remember right now. I don't have the card off the top of my head, only like the big ones.
Yeah, we got Dubois Parker, we got Schofield Shakur, we got Beterbiev Bivol, got Majimov Ortiz, we got Caballel. There's one I'm forgetting right now in my head.
I'm looking it up right now. You see me not looking at the screen.
Yeah, I don't have my phone with me.
The Carlos Adams versus.
Ooh, Hamza Shiraz. Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
amazing one. I think Shiraz is gonna blow Adams out the park. I think Shiraz is extremely talented, and I think that's an amazing fight too. So all the fights are amazing. Even the Smith versus Buatsi, which I'd probably watch. Like, if you, all these could be main event cards. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I already said it earlier, but I definitely think it's like the best card I've ever seen, top to bottom. It's gonna be a fantastic day. Just for boxing in general, like I think it's gonna have a lot of eyes on it, and I mean, I think Riyadh Season is doing a fantastic job with how they're promoting these cards, how they're making the pay-per-views cheap, in
Expensive.
comparison. And I mean, it just, yeah. At the end of the day, it might sound like I'm giving a lot of praise and a lot of love to Riyadh and favoring them a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm just a boxing fan who wants to see the best card. Whoever's putting them on, I'm excited for them to give us the best fights. That's really all I care about. So yeah, we leave that card behind. That's on February 22nd, by the way, if you guys aren't sure. And I mean, I wanted to take a moment to talk about a lot of the guys who are in that like 140 to 147 range. Guys like Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Because, I mean, I feel like a lot of them have been all talk and no show.
Mm-hmm.
But now Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia have like an upcoming fight on the same card, as we know. But I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot of talk and no show. So I'm excited to see them get back in the ring finally. But how do you feel about like those two fights for them too?
People know me. A lot of people know me for being friends with Ryan Garcia. I don't really talk to him anymore. We kind of like lost touch. But I will give him praise because I think he'll fight anybody because he knows how important money is, and I think he has a left hook. I think he's tough. I think his left hook can absolutely put anyone out. He's very fast. He's very powerful. I think Ryan will fight anybody, and we've seen what he's done so far. I mean, people hate on Rolly Romero. I think Rolly Romero's still it's still a decent fighter, still a decent top level guy. But I mean, look at who he's fought. He's fought Gervonta Davis. He's fought Devin Haney. He's fought Oscar Duarte. He was going to fight Pitbull Cruz, arguably. He'll fight anybody. And then Devin Haney. Are you talking? Wait, Ryan and Devin, right? You're talking about them fighting on. Or you mentioned Teofimo Lopez.
Well, just all three of them because it was like the little like tournament that Turkey's trying to make with them.
Mm-hmm. I think Devin Haney loses to any top guy. Honestly, I've always felt that way, and everyone's called me crazy. And then when the Ryan fight happened, dude, I could not make sense of it. And look, I can back this up. I said on my channel, I said on Twitter, I said, everyone, look, listen to me right now. Ryan's going to beat Devin Haney because Devin Haney cannot last 12 rounds not getting hit with that left hook. And I thought Ryan performed horribly on the night. I thought Ryan, literally, I was in the hotel. I was in Ryan's hotel eating pizza with him the day before, and there's some footage of that with me and Ryan in his hotel room the day before the fight. He was literally eating pizza, watching The Office, bro. Like in his hotel, he was not focused at all for that fight. And I was there to say he was not focused, but I just don't rate Devin Haney. I don't think he hits hard. And I don't think he has a chin, and those are two very important things. I think he trains very hard. I think he's a great boxer, but I think he is missing all the tools necessary to beat a top guy. I think like Teofimo would beat him. Ryan at like 5% already beat him. I think a guy like Oscar Duarte would even beat Devin. Wait, who's he fighting? He's fighting Ramirez, right?
Yeah,
I think Devin could lose that. Actually, I'm probably saying Devin decision, but Devin could lose. Honestly, with Devin's style, I think some guy could just like walk through his power because he's not known for having big power, and he can't take that big of a punch. And those are two very important aspects. Power isn't everything, and the chin isn't everything, but you got to have it to some aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the fight. The first one, the Ryan versus Devin, where Ryan showed that you can definitely hurt Devin Haney if you capture him, and he never, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, we saw it that night that he didn't ever make the adjustment to that hook. He just kept getting caught by it all night.
Wait. Can I say something?
Yeah.
One thing, also that Ryan interview I did was 1 year ago today, so that's crazy. But one thing I will say Ryan does really well is he sets up the left hook really well. So in round one, the first time he hurt Haney, like all he did was just and like, do you spar yourself forever? If you ever train, one thing you should do is if you're just keep your hands up and then wait for someone to move at all or throw one punch. Just let your left hook go. That's all Ryan does, and he knocked out Francisco Fonseca. He hurt Devin Haney with it. That's all he does. Puts his hands up as soon as he sees someone throw a punch, especially jab, he just lets the left hook go. Then he hurt Devin Haney again with the left hook, with the jab left hook, which is a good combo. On the inside, he knocked him down with the right hook, left hook, and then he sets up the left hook very well. So I don't think it was a matter of Haney getting out of the way with it. I just think Ryan set him up well. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But so yeah, I mean, so they're gonna fight. I forget the date right now off the top of my head, but they're gonna fight on the same card. And then like later in the year, they want to make the rematch happen again, which that's gonna be probably. I think that's like one of the biggest fights you can make in general, like throughout combat sports, because Ryan has just the social media following, so people who don't even watch boxing know him, and I think it's with the whole like Devin suing Ryan because of PEDs and all of that happening, it's become even bigger. So I think it's just gonna be awesome. I don't know if I'm more excited for the fight itself or the build up that's gonna happen.
Dude, the build up's gonna be insane. I don't think it's gonna be as insane as the first one because I think Ryan, his like PR team has stopped him from getting on social media so much. So I don't think it's gonna be as like fun as it was for the first fight. The first fight was insane. I will say I was definitely there in all those spaces because, like I said, I knew Ryan and we like talked a lot. So I will say it won't be as intense as the first one, but the buildup will probably be really crazy. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and also I saw recently that Ryan's apparently back with Team Canelo. I don't know how true that is. I haven't seen any like training yet videos per se, but that's what they were saying. And I think also that might be another reason why the buildup isn't as big. You know, I don't think Canelo is really like. So he has his moments where he's loudmouth and he will say things, but
you want payday?
Yeah, you know, and moments like that. But I don't think his team likes all the big drama. So I think also Ryan being back with Team Canelo is gonna tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, as far as it goes for like Devin Haney side of things, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just I feel like he in a way dug himself a grave because at least when you go on like social media and look at all these like different things where boxing fans are talking, he seems to be like one of the most hated fighters currently. It's just there was like I don't know because the way I view the whole situation is like I understand that Ryan might have taken PEDs. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how much he took. I haven't fully looked into it. But we've had other, like, the biggest one that comes to me that I remember from my lifetime is when Miguel Cotto fought Antonio Margarito and he had his gloves loaded. And, I mean, he really damaged Cotto. As far as I remember, I don't think Cotto sued him. I don't think Cotto legally went after him. He just kind of found his rematch and beat him up in the rematch when it was a fair fight. If Devin wants to prove himself, and you know, I don't think he should have sued him. He should have just got the rematch, had a fight on clean terms, and beat him in the ring. That's the only way you're gonna clear up your name,
Facts.
And clear up the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, I mean, it's definitely that. And then another guy who I think should be part of this mix, but a lot of people criticize him because he's not really ever, is Tank Gervonta Davis. He gets a lot of criticism for his resume.
Yeah.
I want to see him fight even Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez potentially, fight Shakur Stevenson. I mean, Keyshawn Davis was fighting tomorrow. I don't know how ready Keyshawn Davis is for that, but I still want to see it either way. What do you think of his resume?
Gervonta Davis. Like I said, I saw him fight Frank Martin, who I used to train with Frank Martin. Frank Martin literally like wiped blood off my nose in the gym. Like I was sparring, I got a bloody nose, and the coach said, "Yo, Frank, can you wipe some blood off Jack's nose?" Like I trained with Frank. I know his sparring partners. I never sparred him, but that he was a great fighter. That was a great win for Gervonta. But honestly, I feel like Gervonta, and I know it's gonna get hate. I know it's gonna get hate when I say this, but I feel like he kind of is avoiding tough competition. I feel like he could do good, but I feel like when he fought Ryan, he did everything in his power to like drain Ryan, and he didn't think Ryan. He thought Ryan was just like this good-looking Hollywood social media TikTok star, wasn't really a boxer, and he thought Devin was gonna beat Ryan too, and then so I think Gervonta really is just like saving his brand, just fighting like B+ level guys. Because look at Lamont Roach, Frank Martin; those are all guys that are just below the top level. Ryan Garcia, like weight drained, that was a good win. But honestly, I think his style matchup went good against Ryan. But I think he is ducking. I know people can get a lot of hate, but I think he could beat a lot of the guys that he's ducking. Like Lomachenko, he ducked him for years. I think he could beat a lot of tough guys, but I just think he's not trying to put that risk to go out there, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I've always said this. I'm not a fan of his resume. I think his two best wins are probably like, I don't know, a Leo Santa Cruz and Ryan maybe.
Mhm.
You know, you can include guys like Mario
Mario,
Barrios
yeah.
or a Frank Martin maybe, you know, different guys like that. But I've always said I think out of like the group of guys from 135 to 147, he has probably some of the best skills, period. He has the natural power, which is, I think,
Hmm.
a very big plus. And I think he can actually box very well. Something I think not a lot of people give him the credit for, but I think he can really box pretty good in the ring.
He can. He's a good boxer.
He just he just doesn't fight the guys that can prove he's at that level. Like the one fight. I mean, this is gonna be a question for later, but we're already talking about Gervonta, so I'm gonna bring it up. The one fight I want to see this year, and I would give anything
Shakur versus
above all
Gervonta.
else, is Shakur versus Tank.
Sorry, I cut you off there, bro. I should have let you do the build up, but
That's all right, no problem. But that's the one fight I want to see happen for sure.
that's a great fight. I honestly think that's a 50-50 fight. I feel like Shakur would be so hard to hit with that punch. He just needs one, but I feel like but Tank adapts so well in fights. I honestly could not give you an answer who I think wins that. I don't think it's going to happen because I think Gervonta doesn't want that, honestly. And I feel like he could beat Shakur, but I feel like he just doesn't feel like taking risks. That's honestly what I feel. And people can I'll get a lot of hate for saying that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's just that like with Tank. I mean, because like I don't know. I mean, I think he's naturally gifted. Like he just. I mean, yeah, obviously all these fighters put in the hard work, but he's cut, I think, differently from a different fabric,
Yeah, different call.
and and he just has that natural skill, but doesn't get in there with like the top level guys that would prove once and for all how great he really is. And that's kind of one thing that bothers me because a lot of people, especially a lot of Gervonta fans, tend to give him all this praise and all this love, and I get it. I'm the same way. Like I'm gonna sit down and watch the Lamont Roach fight, even though I don't think it's a good matchup at all.
We all of us are going to. No matter what
Um,
they say, I'm not going to buy this fight. You are going to watch it.
no matter if you pirate it or whether you
Yeah.
stream
Yeah.
it, you know, like through pay per view, everyone's gonna sit down and watch. He's probably, in my opinion, the second biggest star outside of Canelo in boxing currently. I just want to see him. I mean, because he also talked at the end of last year of potentially retiring after this year. I don't know how much I believe it. I don't know how much he's actually going to go through with that. But if it's really going to be his last year, just fight everybody. Go out with a
Yeah.
bang.
Facts.
That's just what I want to see, really. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of that with Gervonta Davis. Like, just the skill is there. He just doesn't have the right wins on his resume that fully prove. Because I think a Ryan Garcia win is a good win. I even though people say he was like
Weight drain.
dehydrated, weight drained, all of that, but I still think it's a good win. It's a decent win. No, because I think even if you were to rematch them at a proper weight without,
You think
weight
same
training,
result?
I don't know if he stops in the same way, but I think Javante would still win. That's just how I think of it. After seeing Ryan versus Devin, I definitely think Javante would hurt him and stop him,
Yeah.
and it would be like a clean stopping,
Valid.
not the ref getting in between them and stopping it. It would be like he hurts him and the fight really just stops. Um, but and the only reason I really bring him up when we're talking about Devin and Ryan and Teofimo is because they're making this like little welterweight tournament. I think they even want to include Jaron Ennis in it,
Ooh, yeah, that'd be crazy.
and I think you need to throw Tank in there. Like, why not? Make it more fun for the fans. Get Tank in there.
I just don't think he's gonna do it. I just don't feel like he wants to take the risk. He could beat those guys, but I just don't think he doesn't want to take the risk.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he falls into a similar thing that we were saying with Canelo earlier, where he makes enough money, he's enough of a star, where there's no monetary, there's no like it's not gonna take him to a different level for fighting the top level guys. It's not gonna make him. I mean, it might make him more money, but it's not like he's losing a ton of money by not fighting them. I think, and he's already a big enough star. I mean, I have a bunch of friends that don't watch boxing, but the minute I say Tank, they're like, "Oh, I know who he is," and they don't really watch boxing at all. So I think he's a name that doesn't fully like take his career to a different level by fighting the big names. So if he really is gonna retire after this year, then I don't know. I mean, I
I don't
hope at
think he will.
least
I don't think
I
he's
don't.
gonna.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. He might take a break per se for because he was talking a lot about his mental health, so he might take a break for that. But I think he comes back. I don't think he retires like that soon.
I agree.
Yeah. And then I just want to, getting here towards the end of the episode, I want to talk about tomorrow's fight with Keyshawn Davis. There's a lot of drama build up to that, but before we talk about Keyshawn and Baranchik, I want to talk about just the card itself
Okay.
because there's a lot of interesting names. I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw out my predictions of who I think wins in some of those fights.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say I don't know the order of the fights. So I'm just gonna throw the names out there. I say Jared Anderson's gonna win his fight for sure. I
Absolutely.
think I think Abdullah Mason wins his,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the other guy Xander Zaya wins. Those are like the ones that I actually placed a few bets on. Not gonna lie,
Okay,
through
I see you.
you but and then obviously for the main event, I picked Keyshawn Davis. I'm not too sure. Like I don't have like I'm not somebody who predicts like how the fight's gonna end. Like I don't pick usually ninth round knockout. I'm usually not like that. But I definitely think that Mason and Anderson for sure are gonna win by knockout. Those
Yeah.
two I think are gonna win by knockout. Oh, the other guy I forgot to mention that I actually did pick to win is Nico Ali. He's
Oh,
also
he's fighting. Yeah.
I'm not like the biggest fan of his style per se. But I
I'm
just
just like, oh god.
I just don't think he's fighting somebody who's gonna give him any trouble. So
Yeah.
I think it's a easy win. It's the top ranked blueprint. You
Yeah.
you get these prospects, they fight easy fights until you finally build them up. Although they couldn't do that with Anderson. Turkey and Riyadh overstepped them apparently, and he paid the price. But without mentioning the main event, because we're gonna talk about that in a moment. What do you think of the card itself and your predictions?
I think it's your standard ESPN card. I think Jared Anderson is coming back against a guy who I literally just saw before was fighting in like basketball shorts in the fight before. Literally like basketball shorts. I think my friend said Diego, show my boy Diego on Twitter. I think he said leisure shorts. No, he's literally fighting in basketball shorts. So obviously Jared Anderson's going to stop that dude in the first round. Abdullah Mason, I don't really watch a ton of Abdullah Mason. I just know they're building him up right now. So I'm not even sure who he's fighting. I just know he's going to win, and it should be. He did get dropped twice in round one last time out, but I still think Abdullah will come through because they're still building him up. I still think they're building Xander Zayas up a little bit. I don't even watch Xander Zayas until he fights like a big name, like a name that I recognize. So I always have the card on the background early on, so I'll end up seeing him fight anyway, though. But you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think Abdullah Mason, Xander Zayas, and Jared Anderson will win, and most likely all by knockout.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I was just excited for the main event, Keyshawn versus Bregman, because it's Keyshawn Davis fighting for his first world title, and I thought that in itself was already exciting enough. You don't really need like a big build-up when you have a good fighter.
The bananas and the watermelon, man, that's crazy.
Like you said, yesterday in their press conference, Keyshawn Davis, or his team, I guess, posted that he received watermelons and bananas. And I don't know if to believe that Baranchyk actually sent him.
It was Teofimo Lopez. 100%. Did you see the video Teofimo Lopez posted?
I saw the video. I was going to say, I saw the video of Teofimo Lopez, eating his banana, watching the press conference and laughing. I wouldn't be surprised if it was him. I personally don't want to accuse anybody of doing anything. It could have been. I'm just gonna say the suspects are either a random fan who was bored and wanted a troll, Teofimo Lopez, and I don't really think so, but maybe someone from Barancyk's team, sent it over. And then today, I don't know if you saw, but during the weigh-in and when they did the face-off, Baranchyk pushed Keyshawn Davis on the stage.
He pushed Keyshawn?
Yeah, like he gave him like a little shove when Keyshawn was like trying to pose and whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I think now the fight is gonna turn, at least for Keyshawn, it's gonna turn a little more personal. He's using that to fuel his own fire. I didn't have any set prediction. My only prediction was Keyshawn wins. I feel like if he has that fire lit under him, 9th round stopping. That's what I personally think for this fight.
First off, I just want to say I don't co-sign what the watermelon bananas. I think it's messed up, but I do think it's at the end of the day. I laugh because I think it was Teofimo Lopez is just a strange individual. I 100% think it was him. That's why I was laughing because I was like, dude, Teo's such a weird dude. Like him laugh, like it had to be him, no one else. And I think it's a great fight because Baranchyk, I have actually unless he was in that fight of the year in 2020 where he got dropped like 7 times against I can't even remember the dude's name right now, but he was on the same Ukrainian team as Vozdik, Usyk, and Lomachenko, so he's in that same caliber. He trains with not Aegis Klimas. He might train or the guy Usyk's promoter. And then you got Bomac training Keyshawn. So I feel like it's like a mini version of like a Kovalev war, or like a mini version of like a Crawford versus like a top Ukrainian guy over there. But I rate Keyshawn. I think Keyshawn is impressive. I really haven't been keeping an eye on him. That's usually not. 2024 has been a crazy year for me. Like not even just outside of boxing. So boxing, like I'm like in the not crazy into the boxing mindset last year. So I really missed my opportunity to look at Baranchyk, but I think Keyshawn is just too good, and it's going to take a really guy that we know that can beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think along those same lines that Keyshawn is very strong, very focused, and we'll see how the fight goes. Really, like at the end of the day, we wait for them to get in the ring. Anything can happen. Mm-hmm. My favorite example that's very recent is Bruno Saras versus Munguia. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure Munguia was gonna win, like no problem, and he gets stopped. So
That was crazy.
at the end of the day, it's a combat sport where two individuals are getting hit. Anything can happen. But I think Keyshawn is gonna more or less dominate majority of the fight. But I also think it's a good step up for him and something that can teach us a lot about Keyshawn because I don't think he's fought somebody at this level yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just going to be very interesting to see. That's going to be on ESPN for anyone who wants to tune in. I believe the main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching. If you follow my socials on BoxTheBase, I'm sure Jack is going to be tweeting about it too. So,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you can definitely keep up with both of us on there.
Sir.
But getting here to the end of the episode, I'm just going to throw out a few like rapid fire questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll just kind of answer like either the first thing that comes to mind. There's no time limit. You just kind of answer. So, what's one fight, if you can make any fight happen this year? What's one fight you want to see happen?
You said rapid fire, but dude, I was gonna say better be a Bill too, but I already have that happening. I would, and Crawford Canelo would be the next one. I would say Canelo Benavidez.
Yeah, I mean, to me, to answer the question for myself, I would say Shakur versus
Tank. Yeah.
Tank, but I mean that's probably the second fight I would pick, the Benavidez versus Canelo fight for sure. And the next question is a two-part question. Who is your current favorite fighter and who is your all-time favorite fighter?
Current favorite fighter, I said Dimitri Bivol. All-time favorite fighter, I would say. There's a lot. I got like four. Let me try and narrow it down. I got Gennady Golovkin, Sugar Ray Leonard, Lennox Lewis, Arturo Gatti. Those are like the four. So Arturo Gatti, Lennox Lewis, Gennady Golovkin, and Sugar Ray Leonard. I would probably say Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard is probably my all-time favorite fighter.
Yeah. And then I'll answer the question for myself. So to me, my current favorite fighter is Shakur Stevenson. Even though I will say I do think Dimitri Bivol had the most aesthetically pleasing style currently,
Mm-hmm.
but I still pick Shakur just because I started watching him when he was in the Olympics. That's when I first found out about him, and he just kind of like got me hooked, and I've followed him his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
My all-time favorite fighter is actually Gennady Golovkin.
Ooh, my boy.
I got into boxing around the time that he was in his prime. I don't remember like the exact moment, but I do remember a time being when we would go over a lot to my cousin's house when I was a lot younger, and my uncle, who's very big into boxing, he just would be watching a lot of boxing, and then he was like, "You guys need to see this guy," and I'm like, "Okay, who the heck is this random boxer? I've never really seen boxing like that." And it was Gennady Golovkin, and all I saw was like raw knockout power.
Facts.
And ever since that moment, I just fell in love with the sport in general.
Love it, man. Yeah. Similar story with Triple G.
Yeah, and then just to finally wrap up here in the episode quickly, Inoue is coming to the U.S. again.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel?
I feel Inoue beats anybody above anybody at 122 pounds and below. I think nobody beats Inoue. I have not been a big Inoue fan for some reason. I don't know. Just something about him. I don't know. His fans, kind of. I've never been a big Inoue guy, but I feel like he beats anybody 122 and below. I feel like when he gets up like to maybe 130, I feel like 126, you can probably beat anybody there too, honestly. Like, I'm serious. 130, though, I feel like he might reach a limit there, like against guys like Oscar Valdez or something like that. He might, in the realm of those guys, I think he'll probably get to. I don't think he can compete with the guys at 135. Like Tank Davis, way too big for.
Yeah.
But Inoue's a beast. I'd love to see him fight in the U.S. though. I understand why he's in Japan though, because he's such a star in Japan. Even though a lot of us fans don't like having to wake up early to see him fight, I feel like it's fun sometimes. It's like a vibe, man. Like get some breakfast, get some coffee, watch an Inoue fight. I like Inoue. I said I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. I do like him, like in general. I would say though, but I think anybody, only guys that are 126 and up can beat him. That's what I'll say about Inoue.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree too. I'll be honest, I haven't woken up too many times to watch him fight. I've definitely like caught his fights on replays and all of that after the fact. But I mean, I'm excited to see him fight in the U.S. just because it works better, timing wise for me. And I don't know. I think maybe it's unfair to say, but I think his competition a little bit gets limited when he's fighting only in Japan. Because maybe there's certain fighters who don't want to make that trip out there. They don't want to be on a flight for that long. They don't want to. I don't know. Maybe some guys just don't want to go to Japan. I don't know. You know, different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once he branches out, I mean, I know it won't be his first time. I believe he's fought in the U.S. in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be exciting to finally see him again in the U.S. and actually get like a U.S. audience more exposed to him. I mean, I think it's going to be an easy fight because I think he's fighting Picasso, the Mexican guy, who's probably going to be an easy fight for him.
Yeah, I don't
So
think anyone in the 122 division can give him like even a challenge. And I think he's fought twice in the U.S. He fought Antonio Nueves. I think that's the guy's name, or like Nueves. He in the 6th round hit him with a body shot,
yeah,
put him down, and then he retired on the stool, I think, or maybe the body shot put him out. And then he fought one of the Maloney brothers. I think it was Jason Maloney in 2020 during COVID, knocked him out in round 7 with the right hand. So I think he's fought twice in the U.S. I just don't think anyone that can stop him or hurt him or beat him at 122. I think he's gonna have to move up to have a real challenge.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same like thinking. I don't think anyone in his weight division first of all beats him. I don't think anyone at 126 currently would beat him, even if he moves up. I mean, so there's that, and then I think the idea with Inoue after he fights in the U.S. and potentially after that fights, I think Turkey wanted Nick Ball in Saudi. I think they want to make the Japanese mega fight with him and Junto
I think Inoue wins
Nakatani.
that. I think Inoue stops him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the same. I think Inoue wins. I think Inoue is more dynamic. I think I'm not saying that Nakatani is not good, but I just think there's more to
Yeah.
his game in Inoue than there is in Nakatani. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good, exciting fight to see, and yeah, I'm just excited to see Inoue come to the U.S. and watch a fight live.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
yeah.
I mean,
Nakatani.
not in person, but watching it live on TV and get on social media at a more friendly time for U.S. fans and see people talking about it and just more hype around it for us in the U.S.
Yeah, it's low-key a vibe though. I low-key mess. I won't wake up like probably like 50-50. I remember when he fought Stephen Fulton. I woke up and watched that one. I was so hyped for that one. But and then other times I remember when I was in high school, Inoue was fighting. I remember senior year of high school watching Inoue in the morning, like economics class, because it was so early in the day. And then I remember like sophomore year in 2018, he was fighting Jamie McDonnell. I remember watching all these fights early in the morning for Inoue. So it was a fun time for that. But I low-key like the vibe. And I feel like I heard that Nakatani versus Inoue might happen in Saudi. I think that's a very dumb idea. That has to happen in Japan. One thing I will say about Turkey is I feel like even though he's doing amazing with all the fights, I feel like not all the fights should be in Saudi Arabia. I know it's about money, but like having a fight like Crawford versus Canelo, and I know it's probably going to be in Vegas, but having fights like those in Saudi, that makes absolutely no sense. Like I understand that he's trying to make boxing amazing, but that's not a fan-friendly atmosphere. That's going to cost like $10,000 to go to freaking Saudi
Yeah.
and fly out there. But Nakatani, I feel like he's great, but I just feel like in a way he's just on a different level, man. And I've always said that. But like, unless you're 126 and up, I don't think anyone's really messing with Inoue, honestly.
No, yeah, I definitely have to agree there for sure on Inoue. So I think that'll wrap up the episode for today, or for now. So make sure you subscribe here on YouTube to BoxTheBase. Follow all the socials that will be linked in the description, as well as I'm going to link all of Jack's socials in the description as well if you want to go follow him on all his platforms. And thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.